What would you do if money stopped being a problem overnight? Would you slow down, or would you rush to prove that nothing could touch you anymore? Why is it that the moment people win the lottery, their safest instincts are often the first things they abandon? Have you noticed how wealth gained too quickly doesn't erase risk, but quietly rearranges it? And if a single ticket can change your finances forever, how many decisions does it take to undo that change just as fast? Stick around, because these mistakes didn't happen before the money arrived. They happened because it did. Today, we're opening the file on 45 of the dumbest things people did after winning the lottery. Not before the money, not while struggling, but after everything they thought they needed had finally arrived. These aren't stories about greed or excess alone. They're about what happens when financial pressure disappears faster than judgment can adjust. In each case, the money didn't create the mistake. It simply removed the friction that used to slow bad decisions down. What followed wasn't chaos by accident, but consequence by momentum. Choices made too quickly, trust given too freely, and safeguards ignored because they suddenly felt unnecessary. Fasten your seatbelts, because sudden wealth doesn't end problems. It just changes how fast they arrive. 1. The winner who quit everything overnight. Within hours of learning he had won a life-changing jackpot, one winner walked out of his job, canceled long-term plans, and cut off routines that had provided structure and accountability for years. The decision felt logical in the moment because money appeared to remove the need for patience, preparation, or gradual transition, replacing them with a sense of permanent safety. Without daily anchors, spending accelerated, relationships shifted, and impulsive commitments piled up faster than professional guidance could be arranged. The money arrived instantly. Stability did not, and nothing replaced it. 2. The public announcement mistake. A lottery winner proudly shared the news on social media, believing transparency would prevent rumors and allow friends and family to celebrate openly. The announcement spread far beyond the intended audience, attracting attention from strangers, distant acquaintances, and opportunists who framed requests as urgent or emotional. Within months, legal threats, scams, and relentless pressure consumed time and resources meant to protect the winnings. Privacy wasn't lost by accident. It was given away too early. 3. The no advisor assumption. Convinced that hiring professionals would be unnecessary overhead, a winner decided to manage finances independently, trusting common sense over specialized experience. Early decisions felt successful because initial expenses were affordable relative to the jackpot size. Tax obligations, long-term liabilities, and poorly structured investments surfaced later, compounding losses that advice could have prevented. The cost of expertise appeared high until the cost of ignorance arrived. 4. The family loan spiral. After winning, a person began offering generous loans to relatives, assuming gratitude and trust would replace formal agreements. Requests multiplied as boundaries remained undefined, turning favors into expectations and expectations into conflict. When repayment failed, relationships fractured and legal disputes followed, permanently altering family dynamics. Money didn't strengthen bonds, it tested them without safeguards. 5. The lifestyle leap. A new millionaire immediately upgraded housing, vehicles, and travel to match imagined standards of wealth. Fixed expenses skyrocketed before income planning caught up, locking spending patterns into an unsustainable structure. When returns underperformed expectations, downsizing proved socially and psychologically difficult. Luxury arrived first, sustainability never did. What these first stories reveal isn't recklessness, it's speed. The money didn't force these decisions. It removed the pause that normally protects people from acting on impulse. With no time to recalibrate identity, boundaries, or support systems, winners moved faster than consequences could be understood. And as the pace increases, the mistakes don't disappear. They simply become more expensive. 6. The trust-first investment. A lottery winner agreed to invest a large portion of their winnings with a friend of a friend who claimed insider knowledge and promised unusually consistent returns. The decision felt safe because it came wrapped in familiarity, social proof, and emotional reassurance, rather than verifiable credentials or written safeguards. As funds were transferred quickly and informally, accountability dissolved, and losses emerged only after the money had scattered across opaque ventures. Trust arrived before structure, and structure never caught up. 7. The sudden business owner fantasy. Believing financial success translated naturally into business competence, a winner purchased multiple businesses without understanding their operations or margins. Ownership replaced curiosity, and questions were deferred to managers who now had little oversight. Operational inefficiencies and misaligned incentives drained capital quietly, while confidence remained high. Money bought entry, not understanding. 8. The all-cash purchases trap. Determined to avoid debt, a winner paid cash for large assets without evaluating liquidity needs or future obligations. The sense of freedom masked how quickly capital became locked into illiquid forms. When unexpected expenses and tax liabilities arose, selling assets proved slow and costly. Debt was avoided, flexibility was not. 9. The too many advisors problem. Instead of hiring a single coordinated advisory team, a winner consulted multiple independent advisors without integration. Each provided advice optimized for their domain, not the overall financial picture. Conflicting strategies canceled benefits and amplified risk exposure across portfolios. Expertise multiplied, coherence disappeared. 10. The identity rewrite. A winner rapidly rebranded their public identity to match perceived expectations of wealth, changing social circles and behaviors. Long-standing relationships weakened as new ones formed around status rather than history. Support systems eroded just as decision complexity increased. The money changed finances quickly. Identity lagged behind. By this point, the pattern is clear. These mistakes aren't rooted in greed, but in exposure. Sudden wealth removes friction faster than people can rebuild boundaries, structure, and identity. When guardrails disappear overnight, even reasonable decisions lose their context, and the margin for error narrows dramatically. 11. The no tax plan shock. Fresh off the win, a lottery recipient began spending immediately, assuming tax obligations would be handled automatically or deducted somewhere along the way. The confidence came from never having dealt with complex tax exposure before, not from understanding how lump sum winnings are actually treated. When filings were due, penalties, interest, and under-withholding stacked faster than adjustments could be made. The win was real. The surprise was expensive. 12. The "I'll figure it out later" portfolio. A winner postponed building a structured investment plan, preferring to keep funds in cash while enjoying newfound freedom. The delay felt harmless because the balance was large and market participation seemed optional. Inflation, missed opportunities, and reactive decisions quietly eroded value while indecision persisted. Waiting felt safe until time started charging rent. 13. The friends as employees decision. Eager to share success, a winner hired close friends into paid roles without defining responsibilities or authority. The move blurred professional boundaries before expectations were aligned. Performance issues became personal conflicts, and terminations became impossible without social fallout. Generosity replaced governance, and governance never arrived. 14. The overinsured illusion. Concerned about protecting assets, a winner purchased overlapping insurance policies without coordination. Each provider assumed primary coverage lay elsewhere, creating gaps and redundancies. When a claim occurred, delays and disputes reduced effective protection. More coverage did not mean more clarity. 15. The immediate philanthropy rush. Motivated by gratitude and public goodwill, a winner committed large donations without a long-term charitable framework. Funds were allocated emotionally rather than strategically, locking in obligations that outpaced sustainable giving. As finances tightened, reversing commitments proved reputationally damaging. Good intentions spent faster than planning. What ties these stories together isn't extravagance, it's unfamiliarity. Sudden wealth introduces complexity before literacy can catch up, and decisions made early set trajectories that are hard to reverse. As experience lags behind exposure, the mistakes don't stop. They evolve. And next, they begin to attract consequences that money alone can't solve. 16. The lawsuit magnet effect. After winning, a lottery recipient assumed increased wealth wouldn't meaningfully change personal risk exposure. They maintained informal agreements, casual promises, and loose boundaries that had worked when there was little to lose. Once the win became known, disputes escalated into lawsuits because financial upside suddenly justified legal action. Money didn't create conflict, it made conflict profitable. 17. The sudden real estate empire. A winner rapidly acquired multiple properties under the assumption that real estate was inherently safe and self-managing. Maintenance, property taxes, vacancies, and management complexity were underestimated in favor of perceived stability. Cash flow shrank, while obligations multiplied, forcing rushed sales under unfavorable conditions. Assets accumulated faster than understanding. 18. The security blind spot. Confident that wealth brought protection, a winner delayed upgrading personal and digital security. Public visibility increased, while safeguards remained unchanged. Scams, theft attempts, and privacy breaches followed, exploiting the gap between exposure and preparation. Risk scaled immediately. Defenses did not. 19. The everyone wins mentality. Attempting to avoid guilt, a lottery winner distributed funds broadly among acquaintances. The lack of criteria or limits turned generosity into expectation. Requests never stopped, resentment grew, and personal agency eroded. Money multiplied relationships. Boundaries were never set. 20. The DIY legal strategy. Believing legal counsel was only necessary in extreme cases, a winner handled contracts and agreements personally. Small oversights compounded across deals, leases, and partnerships. Disputes arose that could not be unwound without significant loss. Savings avoided upfront reappeared as damage later. By now it's clear that sudden wealth doesn't simplify life, it accelerates it. Exposure increases before protection, opportunity appears before literacy, and consequences move faster than learning curves. And as the stakes rise, the next set of mistakes doesn't just cost money, they begin to reshape identity, relationships, and long-term stability. 21. The sudden marriage decision. Shortly after winning, a person rushed into marriage, believing emotional certainty was finally guaranteed by financial security. The decision felt safe because money removed practical stressors that normally expose incompatibilities over time. As expectations shifted and power dynamics changed, unresolved differences surfaced under higher stakes. The wedding was fast, the consequences were permanent. 22. The family business revival. A winner decided to revive a struggling family business out of loyalty rather than analysis. Sentiment replaced due diligence, and outdated practices were preserved to avoid conflict. Losses mounted quietly until capital infusion stopped masking structural failure. Money postponed the end. It didn't prevent it. 23. The public generosity trap. A lottery recipient made highly visible charitable gestures, believing openness would inspire goodwill and reduce suspicion. Public generosity attracted attention far beyond genuine need, including organized manipulation. Requests escalated while scrutiny intensified, leaving little room to withdraw gracefully. Visibility amplified generosity into obligation. 24. The I can fix them investment. Confident that money could solve operational problems, a winner invested in failing ventures with emotional attachment. The belief rested on optimism rather than restructuring expertise. Cash injections delayed collapse but removed incentives for change. Capital entered, accountability exited. 25. The immediate legacy planning rush. A new millionaire attempted to lock in legacy decisions immediately, drafting wills and trusts without future-proofing. The rush came from fear of loss rather than clarity of vision. As circumstances evolved, rigid structures became costly to amend. Security rushed often needs revisiting. At this point, wealth isn't just influencing decisions, it's reshaping identity and social gravity. Relationships bend under new incentives, old roles dissolve, and money quietly rewrites expectations. As personal life absorbs the shock, the next mistakes grow more subtle because they happen not in public moments, but in long-term commitments no one thinks to question. 26. The unchecked spending burn rate. After the initial excitement faded, a lottery winner continued spending at peak levels without ever calculating a sustainable burn rate. The assumption was that a large balance automatically meant durability, even as monthly outflows quietly exceeded conservative projections. Over time, compounding expenses, poor returns, and lifestyle inertia reduced flexibility faster than expected. The fortune didn't vanish suddenly, it eroded while no one was watching. 27. The overconfidence in cash flow. A winner treated passive income estimates as guaranteed rather than conditional, building commitments around optimistic projections. Rental income, dividends, and business distributions were assumed to be stable regardless of market shifts. When conditions changed, fixed obligations remained while cash flow tightened. Predictions felt like facts until reality revised them. 28. The no-exit investment. Believing long-term commitment signaled confidence, a winner entered investments without defining exit strategies. The focus stayed on entry price and upside stories, not liquidity or timing. When circumstances required change, options were limited and costly. Getting in was easy, getting out wasn't planned. 29. The social pressure spending loop. Surrounded by expectations, a lottery winner normalized high spending in group settings to avoid appearing stingy. What began as generosity became routine social obligation. Costs escalated invisibly, as saying no felt harder than paying. Approval drained capital more quietly than indulgence. 30. The "I'll learn as I go" approach. Confident that experience would naturally develop alongside wealth, a winner delayed formal education in finance and risk management. Mistakes accumulated faster than lessons because stakes rose before competence did. Each correction became more expensive than the last. Learning happened, but tuition was charged in millions. By now, the pattern has slowed but deepened. These aren't impulsive mistakes anymore, they're structural ones, embedded into routines and assumptions that feel normal over time. When wealth becomes familiar before it becomes understood, the danger isn't recklessness, it's complacency. And in the final stretch, the consequences stop being reversible. 31. The too big to fail assumption. After years of uninterrupted spending, a lottery winner began to assume that sheer scale would protect the remaining fortune from collapse. The belief wasn't rooted in analysis, but in psychological comfort. The number was still large enough to feel permanent. Small losses were ignored, medium losses were rationalized, and warning signs blended into background noise. The fortune didn't fail catastrophically, it failed politely, one ignored signal at a time. 32. The over-leveraged lifestyle bet confident that future income would cover obligations. A winner layered financing onto an already expensive lifestyle. Leverage felt efficient because assets were appreciating and credit was easily available. When market conditions shifted, debt amplified losses and removed options. Comfort borrowed against the future demanded repayment immediately. 33. The permanent vacation trap. A winner decided to step away from all professional structure, believing leisure itself would become a sustainable way of life. Days blurred together without routine, feedback, or purpose beyond consumption. Spending increased as novelty faded, and decision quality declined without external anchors. Freedom arrived first. Direction never followed. 34. The ignored warning signs. Financial statements, advisor reports, and performance summaries repeatedly signaled growing imbalance. The information was received, but never integrated because acknowledging it threatened a carefully maintained sense of security. Corrective action was postponed until adjustment required sacrifice. Awareness existed, acceptance did not. 35. The "this is still working" delay. Even as resources tightened, a winner delayed change because nothing had fully broken yet. The threshold for action kept moving as long as basic needs were met. By the time urgency replaced comfort, recovery options had narrowed dramatically. Stability isn't proof of health, it's often the last illusion before correction. At this point, the mistakes aren't loud or impulsive. They're quiet and procedural. Control slips away not because of a single bad choice, but because adjustment keeps getting postponed. And in the final stretch, the consequences stop being financial lessons and start becoming life-altering outcomes. 36. The burned bridge exit. A lottery winner abruptly severed professional and personal relationships, assuming money removed the need for compromise, reputation, or long-term cooperation. The decision felt empowering at first, framed as freedom from obligations that once felt restrictive. Over time, opportunities requiring trust, collaboration, or credibility quietly disappeared, leaving isolation where flexibility once existed. Independence was gained, optionality was lost. 37. The "I don't need rules anymore" mindset. Believing financial security eliminated the need for discipline, a winner relaxed personal rules around spending, health, and accountability. Small lapses compounded into habits that eroded structure across daily life. Without constraints, decision quality declined while costs increased. Rules weren't limiting success, they were supporting it. 38. The ignored estate reality. A wealthy winner postponed serious estate planning, assuming there would always be time to address it later. Complex assets accumulated without clear succession or documentation. When unexpected events occurred, disputes consumed resources meant to provide stability. Delay didn't preserve flexibility, it created chaos. 39. The legal entanglement spiral. As wealth attracted attention, a winner entered legal disputes casually, assuming resources guaranteed favorable outcomes. Each case consumed time, focus, and leverage, even when technically won. Costs mounted while life narrowed around conflict management. Winning arguments isn't the same as winning back time. 40. The complete lifestyle lock-in. After years of high spending, a winner reached a point where reducing lifestyle felt psychologically impossible. Identity, social circles, and routines depended on maintaining appearances. When income or assets declined, adjustment triggered emotional resistance instead of planning. The lifestyle became the obligation. At this stage, money no longer feels like freedom. It feels like gravity. Decisions made earlier have hardened into structures that resist change, and flexibility has quietly vanished. In the final chapter, the mistakes aren't about losing money fast. They're about realizing too late that some losses can't be reversed at any price. 41. The irreversible tax decision. A lottery winner chose a payout structure without fully understanding the long-term tax implications, prioritizing immediate access over strategic optimization. The decision felt minor at the time, framed as convenience rather than commitment. Years later, compounded tax exposure permanently reduced total lifetime value with no legal path to restructure. The choice was quick. The consequences were fixed. 42. The asset fire sale panic. When markets dipped, a winner liquidated major holdings out of fear, believing capital preservation meant immediate action. The move locked in losses and erased future recovery potential. Re-entry proved psychologically and financially difficult once confidence was shaken. Protection, mistaken for control, accelerated damage. 43. The reputation collapse. Public disputes, broken promises, and erratic decisions gradually eroded trust in a winner's reliability. Opportunities requiring discretion and credibility stopped appearing. Wealth remained, but access to quality partnerships vanished. Money survived, reputation didn't. 44. The "I'll fix it later" health neglect. Financial security encouraged a winner to postpone health maintenance, assuming resources could solve future problems. Stress, excess, and neglect accumulated quietly. When intervention became necessary, options were limited and outcomes compromised. Money can fund treatment, but not rewind time. 45. The final realization. Years after the win, a former lottery millionaire reflected on how quickly freedom turned into constraint. The fortune hadn't vanished. It had narrowed choices through accumulated decisions. What remained wasn't poverty, but regret shaped by irreversible moments. Winning ended uncertainty. Living recreated it. And that completes the record. 45 decisions made after money arrived, each one reasonable in isolation, but devastating in sequence. These weren't failures of intelligence. They were failures of pacing, protection, and perspective. Sudden wealth doesn't destroy lives by itself. It simply removes the delays that once protected people from themselves. By now, the pattern should feel disturbingly clear. None of these mistakes happened because lottery winners were unintelligent, reckless by nature, or undeserving of their luck. They happened because money arrived faster than adaptation. Financial pressure disappeared overnight, but psychological habits, boundaries, and decision-making frameworks didn't update at the same speed. And in that gap, mistakes flourished. What ties these 45 stories together isn't extravagance, it's sequencing. Decisions that might have been harmless if made slowly became dangerous when made all at once. Privacy was abandoned before protection was built. Spending accelerated before sustainability was calculated. Commitments hardened before flexibility was tested. Each choice felt reasonable in isolation, but together they formed systems that quietly worked against the people they were supposed to serve. The most unsettling part is how predictable the progression is. Euphoria gives way to overconfidence. Overconfidence invites exposure. Exposure attracts pressure, and pressure forces decisions to be made without margin. By the time consequences appear, they don't arrive as sudden disasters. They arrive as structures that are difficult, expensive, or impossible to unwind. These stories aren't warnings against money itself. They're warnings against speed, against assuming that financial security replaces discipline, or that wealth automatically comes with literacy. Winning the lottery doesn't remove risk, it concentrates it. And without time, guidance, and restraint, even good intentions can become permanent liabilities. If there's a lesson hiding here, it isn't "don't dream" or "don't win." It's that sudden change requires deliberate slowdown. Because when life accelerates faster than judgment can follow, mistakes don't announce themselves loudly. They settle in quietly, and by the time they're noticed, they already feel normal. Perhaps the most uncomfortable truth behind all these stories is that none of these people failed because they were foolish. They failed because the world around them changed faster than their internal systems could adapt. Winning the lottery didn't give them too much money. It removed the delays that once protected them from making permanent decisions too quickly. And without those delays, every choice suddenly carried more weight than it appeared to. What sudden wealth really does is expose gaps. Gaps in financial literacy, gaps in emotional regulation, gaps in boundaries, identity, and long-term thinking. Money doesn't create these weaknesses. It simply gives them room to operate at scale. The same instincts that once caused minor inconveniences now produce irreversible outcomes. The difference isn't character, it's leverage. These stories also reveal something unsettling about how we talk about success. We imagine wealth as an end point, a finish line where problems stop mattering. But money doesn't end uncertainty, it rearranges it. The questions don't disappear, they get more expensive. And when people believe they've finally made it, they often stop asking the very questions that would have kept them safe. There's a reason so many of these mistakes look reasonable in the moment. They're made under emotional load, social pressure, and the false comfort of abundance. A decision that feels harmless when resources seem infinite can quietly harden into a structure that resists change later. And by the time the cost becomes visible, the option to reverse it is gone. This isn't a warning against dreaming big or hoping for a lucky break. It's a reminder that speed is the real danger. Sudden change, even positive change, demands caution, not celebration alone. Wealth needs friction. It needs time, advice, and restraint to become freedom rather than obligation. Because in the end, the lottery doesn't ruin lives by itself. What does the damage is the belief that money replaces discipline, that abundance removes the need for structure, and that winning something once means you're prepared to keep it. The ticket may change your finances overnight, but how you live afterward still decides the outcome. This has been the Absurdist Files, where luck arrives faster than wisdom, money amplifies choices instead of fixing them, and the most dangerous moment isn't losing everything, it's believing nothing can go wrong anymore.